Picture two strangers sitting in a waiting room. One of them spends weekends rock climbing. The other hasn't left the couch in a decade. One reads philosophy for fun. The other thinks books are a waste of time. They vote differently, eat differently, were raised differently, and would probably argue about almost everything if you gave them enough time together. Now tell them both one thing. The company across the street is trying to put them both out of a job. Watch what happens. Within minutes, they're trading numbers, swapping complaints, practically finishing each other's sentences like old friends. Two people who agreed on nothing 5 minutes ago just became a team because of one person they have never even met. Why does disliking the same thing pull people together faster than loving the same thing ever does? And why do humans seem to keep finding new people to be against, even long after there's anything real left to fight over? The answer is stranger than it sounds. Your brain may be using enemies for something far more important than conflict. Here's the fastest experiment you could run to prove it. Take 20 strangers, put them in a room, and ask them to work together. It's awkward, slow. People hover near the snack table, avoid eye contact. Now say one sentence. There's another group in the room next door, and they're better than you. Watch the room change. Shoulders square up. Strangers start finishing each other's sentences. Nothing else changed. No team-building exercise, no trust fall, just one sentence about a them. And that's the whole trick. In one line, nothing creates an us faster than a them. To understand why that one sentence works so well, you have to go back 50,000 years again to the same kind of fire-lit circle you've heard about before. Except this time, picture two circles, two separate tribes, close enough to compete for the same river, the same herd of animals, the same patch of fertile ground. Inside each tribe, life was never simple or peaceful. People argued constantly, over food, over mates, over who worked hardest on the hunt and who quietly did less. Cooperation, the one thing tribes actually needed in order to survive, was always at risk of falling apart from the inside, argument by argument. Then a rival tribe shows up at the border, eyeing the same hunting ground, and suddenly, the argument about who ate the last share of meat doesn't matter anymore. Survival creates unity faster than fairness ever could. Here's the part worth sitting with. The enemy wasn't just a threat to defend against. The enemy was social glue, holding together a group that might have otherwise quietly pulled itself apart from arguments nobody even remembers a season later. There's a deeper version of this worth noticing. Inside a tribe with a real outsider to worry about, people don't just stop arguing. They get better to each other, sharing food more generously, protecting each other more fiercely, sacrificing more willingly. Why? Because there's a them out there making the us worth protecting. The stronger the threat outside, the stronger the bond inside. Sometimes cooperation and conflict turn out to be two sides of the exact same survival strategy, which raises a strange question. If enemies are this effective at creating unity, what happens when there aren't any left? Decades ago, researchers wanted to see exactly how fast this glue could form, so they ran something close to a real-life experiment using actual children. A group of boys arrived at a summer camp. For the first few days, they swam together, built things together, told jokes around the fire, and became genuine friends. Then the researchers split them, at random, into two teams. Nothing about the boys had changed. Same kids, same personalities, same friendships from days earlier. But within just a few days of being told, "You're on the other team now," something turned. Insults started, then sabotage, then real hostility between boys who'd been close friends barely a week earlier. Nobody told them to dislike each other. They arrived there entirely on their own, just from being assigned to different sides. Group identity alone had done all of it. Here's where it gets interesting. The researchers then gave both teams one single problem they could only solve by working together, fixing a broken water supply the whole camp depended on. And almost immediately, the hostility evaporated. Same boys, same rivalry from days earlier. One shared problem, and it was simply gone. Sometimes people need a shared challenge far more than they need shared beliefs. Picture a sports fan watching television even though their own team isn't playing. Their biggest rival is down by 1, seconds left on the clock, and the rival misses the final shot. The fan leaps off the couch, fists in the air, screaming like their own team just won a championship, not their own victory, someone else's defeat. Fans don't only celebrate when their team wins, they celebrate almost as loudly when a hated rival loses. Your brain was never just tracking your own side's success, it was tracking who belongs on your side at all. And a rival's failure makes that side feel sharper, stronger, more like a real us. You've probably felt a smaller version of this everywhere. A high school rivalry that somehow still matters 15 years later, or a fandom war where the actual disagreement is almost embarrassingly small. None of these are wars. None of these have anything to do with survival. But your brain doesn't seem to know that. When a real threat disappears, the ancient threat detection system underneath your skull doesn't shut off and rest. It goes looking for a replacement, even a symbolic one, even an invented one, because a brain built to detect threats rarely enjoys having nothing left to detect. The rival tribe that actually mattered for survival disappeared thousands of years ago, but the brain systems built to find one never got the memo. They stayed, scanning, waiting, looking for a new target to lock onto. The rival tribe is gone. Your brain is still searching for one. Now scale that mechanism up to the world you actually live in. Your ancestors had exactly one rival tribe, and they ran into them rarely, maybe a handful of times a season. You have hundreds of rival groups scattered across dozens of platforms, and you run into them constantly, every single time you open your phone. Fandoms against other fandoms, creators against other creators, brands, opinions, communities, all quietly positioned as someone's team and someone else's enemy. And the algorithms running underneath all of it aren't plotting against you personally. They're just doing the one thing they were built to do, showing you more of whatever keeps you watching a little longer. Conflict keeps you watching because your brain evolved to treat social conflict as urgent, important information, something that might directly affect your place in the group. So it doesn't take a conspiracy to explain why your feed is full of arguments. It just takes a brain that was built to scan for rivals, plugged straight into a machine built to maximize attention. Here's the twist nobody really warns you about. A group built around a common enemy often struggles the moment peace actually arrives, because peace quietly removes the one thing that was holding everyone together. Enemies create unity, but unity built this way comes with a hidden cost. The danger was never having enemies. Every tribe in history had those, and managed just fine. The real danger is needing them. Watch what happens when the office gossip target quits, when the rival team gets relegated, when the online feud finally ends. The group feels closer for about a week. Then, almost on cue, a brand new target appears. Not because anyone consciously wanted more conflict, because the brain was relying on that conflict to create belonging, and once it's gone, it quietly goes looking for the next one. So here's the only thing actually worth taking from this. The next time you feel unusually drawn toward a conflict that has nothing to do with you, or unusually satisfied watching someone else get cast as the villain, pause before joining in. Just ask what your brain is doing, because sometimes the enemy isn't really the person standing across from you. Sometimes it's just a shortcut your mind is using to manufacture belonging, the fastest tool it has for turning a room full of strangers into an us. It's not a flaw hiding in a few angry people online. It's a setting almost everyone is running, without ever noticing the switch flip. Your ancestors survived by knowing exactly who stood outside the tribe. That rival tribe is gone now. The difficult part is convincing your brain of that.